Welcome. Hi, everyone. So, this is the final stretch. Congratulations, everyone, for making it this far. I hope you've enjoyed Symposium thus far, and thank you for turning up and coming and joining us. So, my name is Meyrick D'Souza. I'm from Adobe, and this session is on personalized storytelling at scale. So great experiences need personalization. Some would say that, in fact, it's marketing's holy grail. Because, let's face it, it's a human truth that we love to buy, but we hate to be sold to. So when marketing no longer feels like marketing, and the audience doesn't feel they're being sold to, then the engagement is obviously much better. But they will decide in seconds whether your message is right and on the mark. So the real challenge, though, for marketers is how do you actually organize? What are your processes and practices to achieve the full potential of personalization at scale? When you get it right, you actually enhance people's lives and ultimately, of course, increase engagement and loyalty. So in the session, we have two speakers. They come from two very different industries and two very different markets, but they will give you some very fresh perspectives and parallel journeys. So in reverse order, our second speaker is Latitude, and they are a customer finance solutions company that was built out of the GE money business. And they will share how they were able to use data to execute highly personalized, multi-channel CRM strategies. But first, we will have Virgin Holidays. So Virgin Holidays is one of the UK's favorite worldwide travel companies. And they will share their ready-to-travel program and how it did an amazing job because it actually changed the industry paradigm, where by being more customer-focused, they actually found high engagement when they had no sales message. So please, would you give a round of applause and a warm welcome for Ted Bray and Saul Lopes.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for being here. It's a pleasure to be here in sunny Sydney, although we are indoors. Thanks for taking the time. I am Ted Bray. I lead sales for Merkel across the Asia-Pacific region, and we're very proud to have our customer, Virgin Holidays, here with us this afternoon. Merkel is a part of the Dentsu Aegis network. We have around 6,200 employees globally and over 1,100 employees here across the Asia-Pacific region. Adobe is a strategic partner for Merkel. We work across the entire Adobe Experience Cloud. We have over 1,000 Marketing Cloud technologists working within Merkel and over 280 Adobe specialized resources. We support over 85 Adobe clients. You're about to hear a fantastic story from Virgin Holidays, and it's a story that's not really built around technology and integration, although it is, but the story is really built around how Virgin Holidays delivers amazing personalized experiences at scale, and Merkel's very proud to be able to help them as they go about doing that. For Merkel, we view this process of building these personalized experiences through these 4 layers that you see on the screen. And for Merkel, we help our clients at the data layer by first identifying all of the first-party customer data that they have throughout their organization. And we often help them as well by amending that data with additional second or third-party data so that we get a firm, solid data foundation in place. On top of that data foundation, Merkle has teams of data scientists and analysts, and these teams help our clients do things like create highly personalized customer target segments. And we also work with our clients and we help them around analytical models that help them understand more about things like, well, when will the customer buy? When might the customer be at risk to churn? Or when is there an opportunity to upgrade the customer? On top of those insights, we take technology as well as creative and media assets, and we orchestrate that together to help our clients identify who they're speaking to, what they should be saying to them, on what channel and at what time. And Adobe for us is critical across these 4 layers. The entire Adobe Experience Cloud comes into play, and it helps Merkle deliver these exceptional experiences for our clients and for their customers. It's a ton of fun. It's so much fun when these pieces come together to allow us to tell a great story. And that's exactly what's about to happen here. So please join me in welcoming Saul Lopes, Head of CRM and Loyalty at Virgin Holidays. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for the intro. So, of course, everyone knows the Virgin brand very well. And basically, Virgin Holidays was created just 1 year after Richard Branson set up Virgin Atlantic. Our main markets are the Florida and the Caribbean, and we sell package holidays to those markets. Now, our main customer is UK-based. So basically, my job as a marketer is to convince British people to go on holiday. Pretty easy in a miserable country like the UK. So easy job, but we have very long purchase cycles. Our customer only purchases us every 18 months. And then when they purchase us, the difference between when they book and when they actually go on holiday is 6 months. So it's a 2-year journey. How can we stay relevant and how can we make sense? And the main reason for our success, for me, is the culture that we have at Virgin Holidays. So we are a trading business. We have weekly trading needs. So we have the need of being very quick. We decide about on Monday what we're going to put out, and we put it out in the market. Fast pace, speed is everything. So RMD used to be absolutely ruthless. He would say, you're going to spend the next 3 months trying to make the 60% benefit into a 90% benefit. And during those 3 months, I lost that 60% benefit. Give me it now. And in return, there's a big culture of autonomy and trust. Because if you want to move fast, if you want to create great experiences, you have to trust your employees. So there's no approval process in my team. And I don't approve anything going out of the business. And as soon as people are empowered with that possibility, they produce such better work. And we have an in-house CRM team. So we do everything in-house. We use agencies in order to get us, in order to do new communications, to help us out with our customer journeys. But then we do the execution all in-house. So where we came from. So the past. I think everyone can relate to this slide. So all of our customer communications were all trading-led. Trading was telling us what to push out. We had a really complex email setup with 3 different tools and data flowing between these 3 different tools. There's a lot of different ideas of what we had in the database, which data we had, which data we didn't have. There was no culture of creative or subject line testing. And the worst thing bit, if we had a lot of different departments talking to customers. On top of that, we had a CRM team with no data analysts. And probably was the best decision I ever made, was transforming a CRM exec into a data analyst, because that was the one that led this project. So we knew we had to get the basics sorted if we wanted to deliver this amazing customer experience. So there was a need for change. We're doing our segmentation on Unica. We had an in-house built tool in order to do our CMS and our creative execution. We're sending the email through our ESP. So really complex email setup. We're taking us weeks to put an email together. It was taking us a total of 24 hours just to have systems talking to each other. So there's a big need for change. The directors gave us a brief. Simple, 1 line. We want to centralize all customer communications on one tool that's scalable. So we went onto the market. And we brought in Adobe Campaign. And for me, the Adobe Campaign, there was just two reasons to bring in Adobe Campaign. One, to have a single execution where I can segment, do my creative, and actually send, all in the same workflow without having to hop around different tools. And two, having the opportunity of redesigning the customer data model so that a marketer can use. So that's exactly what we did. Since we're a very agile company, we didn't go for the 6 or 12 months transformation plan. No, the business said, how can you deliver this as quickly as possible? So we did our integration, we did a phased approach. The first phase, we just focused on changing the ESP, changing the creative. And the second phase, we focused on migrating the data and improving the data model. So the migration was a success. We had Adobe up and running in 6 weeks. Probably the most important things that the directors memorize and they love to talk about, especially with our colleagues at Virgin Atlantic, which were a lot slower. So, but the most important one, success for me, was the very first one up there. We were able to redesign the data model bottom up. We looked at what type of campaigns we want to deliver, what are the future experiences that we want to do, and we recreated the data model without any legacy. The legacy is still in the background. We were able to reduce those 44 data tables in just 7 data tables, 2,000 variables in just 200. By having a simplified data model, I now have CRM execs that can actually segment, create campaigns, and send them all by themselves. We don't need specialist resource. Now, the project, normal users can start using it, but what I didn't expect on happening is the CRM team was now the central voice of customer experience. And now everyone was coming to us in order to say how we can deliver better experiences to our customers. Since we had the simplified data model, we were the only team in the business who actually knew what exactly was happening. So we had the system up and running. So after me moaning months and months, I need to bring in Adobe, we need to have to step up our game. There's no excuses now. I have the tools. So we went for it. And our very first campaign, I'd just like to show you.
Look at this button. This button is a brand ad. How is this button a brand ad? Well, at Virgin Australia's Velocity Frequent Flyer, every time we engage with our 8 million members is an opportunity to make a brand ad. So this button, yeah, it's a brand ad. This Wi-Fi password is a brand ad. This personalised email, definitely a brand ad. This brand ad had a typo in it, giving away 1 billion points instead of 1 million. It created nationwide hysteria, which we documented and turned into a 40-part mini-series, all brand ads. When data revealed our members were using points...
So yes, we talk a lot about personalization. You see a lot of data points there. But one thing that we did learn is more important than personalization is to be actually relevant and contextual. So we really used this opportunity to challenge our trading teams and starting to do communications that have absolutely no sales message. So imagine, this is in the UK, it's the middle of Christmas, January, very cold. You just came back on Christmas break. It's your first day in the office. What did we send on that day? And this was our most successful campaign email of the year. Research your holiday on your boss's time. It was contextually relevant. Everyone smiled. Even everyone inside the business was coming up to the CRM team saying, I absolutely loved the communication that we sent. Highest engagement, highest relevance, and absolutely no sales message. So we delivered our best peak sale ever. Our awareness went up by 66%, 38% increase in calls, 37% increase in margin revenue. So we really proved the business that we can deliver. Now, we proved to the business that we can deliver. Now that unlocked further funding to start our major transformation. And our major transformation, and probably the best thing we ever did, was changing the objectives of the department. And by changing these objectives, we moved from a marketing function to an experience function. So no longer is my department have to drive revenue, it has to drive NPS. And that unlocks a whole bunch of customer experience metrics which we need to improve. And that was a huge achievement for the team. But now where to start? So we looked at our customer journey, and we looked at end-to-end communications. We created a whole CRM strategy. Then we created mini strategies across that customer journey, and we decided to start working on one, not everything at the same time, but just one. So we started with pre-departure, we moved with return home, we then did tailored triggers, which is more around loyalty marketing, and now we're just finishing up discovery. So now I just want to walk you through our pre-departure, because this is the one that had the best customer experience improvement. So our pre-departure strategy was really, really simple. Having a simple strategy makes it so much easier to communicate around the business and get engagement from your sales team. We need to increase anticipation. Holidays are exciting. People love to talk about them. How we can bring that up. But at the same time, how can you decrease anxiety? And for sure, a lot of you, if you're holiday planners or you're planning a family holiday, you know that anxiety. Have I got this right? Did I make a mistake? So it's really stressful on the holiday planner, and it's our job for our service communications to bring that anxiety down. And where we came from? It was an absolute mess. And we even had agents doing emails in Comic Sans. There's a lot of creativity around it, a lot of creativity. So we had to change this communication and give a completely streamlined strategy. Again, thinking about that strategy, engagement communications, bring up that bit. So our top is all about engagement and getting you excited. The bottom strategy is all around the service communications and how can we decrease that anxiety. But then, what does the change look like? Well, this is an example. We would send you a text email, PDF attachment. On page 6, we would say, don't forget to do your ESTA. How is that helping the customer? So we changed that. We put a little bit of icons, and all those icons are personalized to the destination that you're going to. They're completely relevant. And giving you the top 4 tips that you have to do before you go on your destination. Another one, a very important service message. Airlines do change their flight schedules frequently. We have to communicate to customers if they previously bought at a certain time, and then the flight schedule changes. What will we do? We send you an email. Please find attached important information regarding your flight. God knows what happened. And we just show you the new flight time. You could change by 5 minutes, 1 hour, 24 hours, 2 days, who God knows. So we're able to change that. Just say, hey, Saul, your flight change has changed by 55 minutes. And we showed you the old flight time and the new flight time. So it's very easy to see the difference, and we're able to decrease that anxiety. Okay, I just have to go to the airport a little bit earlier. Same time, we had our debt collector email. You have to pay us. If you don't pay us, we'll cancel your reservation right now. Again, we were able to change that. Just put some virgin flair to it. Just settle up. You still have a remaining balance to pay. So through these type of communications, we're really able to improve it. What was the scale of the personalization? I love it when people come up to me, or vendors come up to me. We can do one-to-one communications. And then you kind of say, OK, one-to-one communications, but yeah, we can send 20,000 people this message. That's not one-to-one communication. And what we did is we personalized for all of our customer base. We didn't do just 80%. We didn't just put 90%. Everyone got a personalized email. And this is an example of a one-to-one communication. What happens when you just booked your holiday? You regret it the next day. You try to see if you actually done the same deal. What do? We celebrate your booking. It's exciting. And everyone had a personalized animated GIF with their holiday. It's completely unique to every single person in the database. But what was the scale of this change? And how do we get our employees on board in order for us to do it, in order for them to understand? So many times in CRM and customer communication, it's really hard for people to understand what you're actually doing. So we put a video together that sums up the transformation. So yes, that video was the most important thing I delivered in the project in the end. No one actually cared about the emails. So what were the results? So the engagement rates were just through the roof. The open rates, we're talking about 80%. Click-through rates of 40%. People were just so engaged with the program because it was relevant. Our pre-departure scores increased by 5%. And I know 5% doesn't sound like a lot, but the max that we can increase is 20% to 10. So it's a huge customer experience improvement. But guess what? You give them a better experience, people buy more. So we never started this project in order to upsell. But what we started to see is people that were on the new program, their upsell rate increased by 11%. Not over that, we increased customer self-serve by 7%. So great results around the board. But the most important result was that we finished a year 2 points ahead of our target, NPS target, and we're a business that has an NPS of 47. But we didn't stop there. Once again, we delivered the pre-departure. Now we went back to the journey. We're now focusing on returning home. Why is returning home important? Because when you come back on holiday, what do you want to do? You want to think about the next holiday. You're miserable. So again, what was our strategy? Flatter me and celebrate my achievement. Flatter the planner. The planner put themselves out there. They've been planning this holiday. They're coming back. They're feeling good about themselves. Flatter them, and they'll probably want to rebook again. Keep the excitement alive. People arrive, you're back at work, you're miserable. You want to be thinking about that next holiday. Again, this time we want a lot more omnichannel approach. We had DMs, we had SMS, we had email, we had mugs, we have everything. What better way to show you, and yes, you know I like a video, than show you the video of that transformation. It's so important having those videos to get your staff on board. And it's really successful to see everyone be so excited each time we launch a new stage of the customer journey. Now, final thoughts. So we talk a lot about technology and bringing technology in, but I kind of feel we don't talk enough about being the people. And do we have the team that's ready for a digital transformation? We were made really, really sure that we had the right people in place. We brought in the analyst resource that we needed in order to do the transformation. And then we kind of redefined the CRM exec role, being a role that has a little bit of everything. They do a little bit of segmentation, they do their own data selections, they create the creative, and they execute. And the fact that they're thinking about this all in their minds, and it's not separate 3 different departments sending briefs to each other, we're so quick and nimble. Literally the other day, we put together an email communication in 24 hours. Why? Because it was hotter in the UK than it was in Barbados or Orlando. So we sent an email out saying, cool off in Barbados. And being able to do that quickly and at scale for your whole base was really, really important. But more importantly, how do we give a sense of achievement within the team? And how do I make sure that they deliver as much as possible? Because what better can you give a millennial workforce than a sense of achievement and purpose? Our partners, no man's an island. So Adobe and Merkle are the backbone of our operation. But then we also combine that with proximity has helped us with our user mapping and also our creative and our strategy. We use Phrasey, a really cool tool that does AI for subject lines, so there's no human bias. And we do movable ink in order to do some of the content automation. But more importantly, is how we work with our partners. Digital transformation isn't easy. There's going to be high moments and low moments. But what you want is to be working in partnership with your partner and not treat them as a vendor. There'll be times that we'll get it wrong. There'll be times that our partners will get it wrong. But the most important thing is when a problem arises, 100% of our energy is spent trying to solve that problem and not putting blame on each other. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm on the home stretch. My name's Caroline Ruddick. I'm from Latitude Financial Services, and I'm here with my partners from CHE Proximity. So we want to share our story with you. So the Latitude brand started around 2.5 years ago. So we're 2 years old as a brand, although we came out of an organisation that had existed for quite a while called GE Money. But GE Money had decided to sell our business off, and we were bought by private equity. So we could no longer use the GE brand. We had to change all our assets, and we had to change all our systems. So we started to build our systems from scratch. So while we'd come from a global juggernaut, our focus was re-establishing the operations of a business. However, as the marketing team, now it was just pre my time being there were so many things we had to focus on creating from new. So we had to look across our customer life cycle. We had some existing customers we had to transition over, and we had really big growth requirements from our private equity owners. So we had to work out where we could get the biggest impact and needed to prioritise it. So many different trade-offs to make. So we had to crawl to get systems set up, but we had to hit these really big growth targets. So it was a really interesting point for the team where they had to decide between, well, how do we work through everything we need to, and how do we hit the real highs in bringing in and attracting new customers to grow? And what the team realised was we actually couldn't do it by ourselves. So we didn't have some of the internal expertise to do some of the progressive marketing that we wanted to in the digital and data space, and we were still re-establishing some of those systems. So we ended up bringing in CHE, so we'd been working with them on the brand, and we started working with Mark. Mark came in pretty early in the process, so Mark is the Director of Technology at CHE, and Hannah's the Senior Experience Strategist, and so they've worked with our team to help us start running the race we need to run. So as we looked out to market, some of the traditional ways of reaching customers were really expensive, and we had really, really big trade-offs to make with the competition, and they had much bigger budgets than us. You know, we wanted to take on the banks in the personal loan space, but you know, there's four major juggernauts in the banking area with massive budgets, deep pockets, and great data. So we had to work out how we'd compete and how we could be smarter with the data we had available. So, you know, we were trying to trade off our B2B and B2C business model at the same time. So we'd grown out of sales finance, where we had partners like Harvey Norman, JB Hi-Fi is one of our partners now, and The Good Guys. And so the model there is people will come into a store and they'll sign up and we'll acquire them that way. But if we wanted to operate in the B2C space, we had to operate differently, so learn some new skills. So the trade-offs were pretty big, and so that's when we went to CHE and said, well, how do we do this better? So when you look at the banks, they have so much data on their customers. So it's likely that they've got a deposit account as a starting point and they've grown up through that, and you can see when their salary comes in and the payments that go out and the transactions they do on their credit card. So the banks knew a lot about their customers. Whereas you compare what we knew, we might know if they'd signed up what they'd told us at that point in time, and we'd know their credit history while they were with us. So we need to maximise the value of every single interaction we had. So what we started to do, I will let Mark tell you.
Thanks, Caroline. So, graveyard shift, talking about solution architecture. This is going to go well. So I guess you've got a range of problems there. You've got this low interaction cadence. Personal loans is not like an everyday transaction account where there's heaps and heaps of data points you're building up over time. You literally get a bill once a month, and it gets debited out of your account. You've got a brand in the market, and so you're dealing with an issue there. A really competitive acquisition challenge where you're competing, against the likes of CBA and ANZ, in those kind of environments where you're paying up to $35 for just one click, not even an acquisition on the personal loan term. And then from Latitude's own perspective, a lot of their email channels are really to drive the credit card business. So, every unsubscribe from an email costs the business money. So, we took the line of how could we find a different way? How could we find a different way to use channels, be less reliant on email, and actually start to think about CRM in a different way? And so this concept of personalisation at scale is really about treating advertising in a way that you'd normally treat an email or a one-to-one channel. So really what we did is a big audit, first of all, just to look at all the data that Latitude did have, looking at their website data, their email transactional data, thinking about the data sources they had from their partners, and then also third-party data sources, and really start putting together a bit of a strategy that looked at how can we codify and organise those signals of intent to help us infer things about what people were interested in, what they wanted as their next product, and then execute content strategies off the back of that. Get really excited because I get to use the laser pointer for this part. One of the really key areas about DMPs is using moments of authentication. So there's a moment here where someone logs into either a save loan application or to log into a credit card. This is a really, really important moment. Similarly with emails, because what they do is they will link an account or a customer ID to a device. And the way that DMPs work is all about using cookie or device IDs and then stitching attributes against them. And so those moments are critical for us to be able to start to append different things we know about those people onto that device. So it could be things like the loan value that they've taken out, what product they had, be it a credit card product, a travel loan product, or a refinancing product, things like what demographic they're in or their credit score. So all of these attributes really help us start to build a picture of someone at a device level or at a cookie level so that we can use them both for retargeting, for cross-selling, or for suppressing, or for lookaliking. So as opposed to having to rely on email to do those things, we can treat advertising in that sort of targeted manner. So once we've kind of organized all of that data, we've synced that data against a specific ID. We've codified those behaviors and those intent signals in the DMP as to whether they might be interested in a car loan or a refinancing product, a home improvement loan or a travel loan. That gives us segments that we can work with different DSP partners to push signals out to look alike those audiences through their environments and the data that they have, and then create personalized content stories that look at things like funnel stage they might be at, the type of loan product they're interested in, and really sort of maximize the personalization benefits of the advertising. So then I guess Hannah's going to talk about how some of the tests we did in market, because I think a lot of this is really about testing and learning in terms of what is working and the kind of results that we saw.
Thanks, Mark. Yep, so I'm just going to chat you through how we activated our data strategy using paid media. And these are the core strategies that we applied, and we kept them really simple. We personalised retargeting creative based on funnel stage and the types of loan products people were engaging with on the Latitude site. We lookaliked high-value customers based on their credit score and excluded customers to drive efficiency and to ultimately reduce wastage. We also used retention strategies for customers based on their finance terms. So, for example, if someone had been on the books for over 6 months but they hadn't yet refinanced, we'd serve them with a relevant message asking them to refinance and to ultimately remain a Latitude customer. The DMP enabled us to overlay a bunch of different data sets, such as customer value, product intent, and application stage. And this really allowed us to serve the right message to the right user. And there are just some examples on the right-hand side of the type of messaging that we used so that we were as personalised as we could be to each individual. The DMP was a test for everyone involved, us, Latitude, and a lot of the publishers that we worked with. And not everything we trialled worked. We partnered with a number of publishers to start to test different segmentation so that we could understand what would and wouldn't work across the DMP. So we targeted prospects directly, we created lookalikes of these prospects, and all of this was served out across each of the publishers' networks. We then looked at how DMP activity, which was using Latitude's first-party data, compared to a standard performance buy, which was using second and third-party data. And the results were pretty awesome. We saw a 54% lower cost per started application and a 76% lower cost per completed application. And that's when we started to understand just how efficient the DMP could be. Hand back to Mark.
So, I mean, we just talked about paid media use cases. I think, really that's the start of the journey for us, not the end. I think for us, they were the ones that we could create speed to market, so moving in a matter of weeks, not months or years. And also sort of tick off a lot of the low-hanging fruit things, like excluding existing customers and the product level segment lookaliking. But that's really the start of the journey for us. I think we've got to a point where we're pretty confident with our paid media strategy. I think the next layer of activity that we're working on is thinking about how we look at different cross-channel strategies and integrate some of those intent signals to not only use intent in a paid media example, but enrich our understanding about our existing customers to drive cross-sell campaigns in push one-to-one marketing, or think about how we present information to the call center when they're talking to customers so that they really understand what product someone might be interested in by their behaviors and actions. I guess the most advanced case would be building in specific attribution models, attrition models, next best action models, and actually starting to automate the process. But I think it's a progressive journey, and I think one of the biggest learnings for us is you've got to start small, start simple, and then layer on over time. Like, don't try and boil the ocean in one hit. So just sort of four final thoughts to leave you guys with. First of all, start with simple, high-impact use cases. I think the things that sound the most obvious and the most logical are probably the things that are going to have the biggest effect. So don't be afraid to not be too clever and try with the most clever AI-based decisioning model strategies from day one. Just start with some really simple things. I think it's been a progressive journey with us thinking about how do we build trust with compliance. The whole GDPR discussion has started to come into our dealings on the data side a lot more recently. So I think taking compliance people on the journey and building trust that we're using the data in a responsible way, having clear agreements with external parties around how they're going to use your data, and being respectful of the customer's data in the right way and how you handle it. I think CHE ourselves have partnered closely with Adobe and had a lot of support along the journey. I think DMP was quite new for us when we started this process 2 years ago. I think now we've managed to build up a really robust team around the product, but asking for help and not trying to do everything yourself at the start is definitely an important part of the process. And then final point is just be comfortable with failure. As we said, not every strategy we tried worked. Some things absolutely didn't work. But we quickly switch those off, and for us it's about progressively layer on successful experiment after successful experiment, and over time improving that cost per acquisition. Thank you.